Start it. Start. Sir, let us first ask the question as to who is the consumer. The consumer is the buyer of goods for a consideration. We must understand that anywhere in the world and in any economy, it is the consumer who matters. But it is very unfortunate that the importance of the consumers has not been taken seriously, especially in our country in the last so many years. It was the Prime Minister who understood with his foresight that it is finally the consumers who matter. It was for this reason that in 1996 he brought forward this bill for consumers protection. This was enacted in the interests of the consumers, and for that consumer councils had to be set up all over the country for the settlement of consumer disputes. But what had happened? In the first 2 years, 40 districts were covered out of 455. But after that change of government, there was no further effort. In fact, the consumers had to move the Supreme Court, which directed the setting up of the councils within 6 years, 6 weeks. This was 2 years ago, but the progress is very slow, although they took a decision regarding the order under Section 2. The state government have defaulted. Only half of the districts have been covered so far. What I would like to stress is it is not just a question of enacting a law. It is a question of implementing that law. Are our officers, are our manufacturers inspired enough to accept this kind of thing? Are they inspired enough to look to the interests of the consumers? It is for this reason we have to see to the protection of the interest of the consumers. How do we save our consumers from adulteration? How do we save our consumers from monopolists? Of course, there is red tapeism in the government, which also comes in the way. How do we save our consumers from red tapeism? Now, when we talk about consumer councils, I think many members of parliament do not even know that there are these consumer councils. The process is so cumbersome that it is not really worthwhile to go to the consumer councils. The harassment is so much that the consumer councils, to the fact that it is better to keep quiet. Mr. Chairman, sir, while looking back on our achievements during the past 50 years, we can raise our head with dignity. We can raise our head smartly. We attained political freedom 50 years ago, and today we should march towards economic freedom. Our schemes, including the 9th five-year plan, which will come before you in a few days' time, will lead the country towards the goal of economic independence. The 50 years hard work of our countrymen has borne fruit. Today, whether it is Delhi city or villages or laborers and our farmers are taking the country on the path of economic progress by their hard work. Today, no country in the world can remain isolated. So the United Front government has formulated a common minimum program. This program is multi-purpose and our effort is to touch upon those sectors of economy where some kind of deadlock has crept in. Sir, you are aware all and you remember that in the last 50 years this country has strived to set up a large number of public sector units. Some companies are facing problems and we are trying to solve those. Ever since I have taken over, I have paid special attention to public is that as far as possible, public sector companies should be spiced with fresh life so that the country increases its wealth and the people's prosperity. Today, whether it is Delhi or outside within the country or city, we understand that new roads need to be built. Industries have to increase, for which the infrastructure issues like power, post and telegraph and telecommunications have to be provided. Unless we do so, our economy may not be able to progress. That is why the United Front government is focusing and stressing on these issues. I am proud to state that our economy grew at a rate of nearly 7% last year. This has happened for the first time to our history that as we attain new objectives, we aim even higher. We strive and aspire that with the efforts of labor, we aspire that with the efforts of laborers and farmers, our growth rate should move towards 10% as the real strength of the country lies with the farmers. Sir, let us first ask the question as to who is the consumer. The consumer is the buyer of goods for a consideration. We must understand that anywhere in the world and in any economy, it is the consumer who matters. But it is very unfortunate that the importance of the consumers has not been taken seriously, especially in our country in the last so many years. It was the Prime Minister who understood with his foresight that it is finally the consumers who matter. It was for this reason that in 1996 he brought forward this bill for consumers' protection. ये कॉमन वर्ड के 2C पार्ट का 9 नंबर है और 859 वर्ड है और 85 की स्पीड है इसके अंदर। आप नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे 80।